Marie's hand trembled around the coffee pot the moment she realized the man in booth 7 hadn't touched his coffee in 40 minutes. His hand never left the inside of his jacket. His eyes never left the door. And his entire body was coiled like a loaded weapon waiting for the trigger. Then Robert Grimm Brown walked through that door, 6'3", barrel-chested, Steel Vipers president, heading straight for his usual booth by the window, the booth with his back to the hitman. Robert was seconds away from sitting in his own execution chair. So Marie did the unthinkable. She walked straight toward danger, leaned in close, and whispered 2 words that shattered his reality. "Don't move." That moment changed everything. Before we dive into what happened next, welcome back to the channel. If you're new here and you love stories about ordinary people doing extraordinary things under pressure, hit that subscribe button right now because what Marie does next will leave you speechless. It was supposed to be another routine Tuesday at the Crossroads Diner. Marie Green had been refilling ketchup bottles for the 3rd time that shift, trying to ignore the strange tension prickling at the back of her neck, that instinctive animal awareness that something was wrong even when everything looked normal. A man sat in booth 7. He'd arrived nearly an hour ago, ordered black coffee, and hadn't touched it, hadn't checked his phone, hadn't opened the menu, hadn't done anything except sit perfectly still with his right hand hidden inside his jacket. His suit was too expensive for a place like this. His posture was too rigid. And his eyes, cold, calculating, patient, never stopped watching the entrance. Then Marie heard it. Not words exactly, just the soft click of metal shifting inside fabric, the subtle tensing of shoulders, the change in breathing that comes right before action. Marie froze mid-pour, ketchup bottle suspended in her hand. He's waiting for someone. There was only one person who came to the Crossroads Diner every Tuesday at 1 p.m. like clockwork. Robert Grimm Brown, president of the Steel Vipers MC. A man built from violence and survival, with a beard streaked gray and eyes that had seen too much. Dangerous, yes, but polite to the staff. Generous with tips, consistent, predictable. Too predictable. The familiar rumble of Harley engines filled the parking lot. The door chimes rang. And Robert walked in, 6'3" of tattooed muscle and leather, Steel Vipers patches across his back, commanding the room without saying a word. He nodded to Marie, smiled, started toward his usual spot, the booth by the window, the one he always took, the one with perfect visibility of the parking lot, the one directly in front of booth 7. The stranger's hand shifted inside his jacket. His body coiled, his eyes locked onto Robert's back like a scope finding its target. Robert was 3 steps from sitting down, from settling in, from exposing himself completely. He's going to kill him. Right here. Right now. Marie's heart slammed against her ribs. Her hands went numb. Time compressed into a razor-thin edge where every second could be the difference between life and death. She had one chance. One moment. One impossible decision. Stay invisible and watch a man die, or risk everything. Marie moved. If you think Marie's about to make the biggest mistake of her life, you're half right. Drop a comment below with what you would have done in her position. Watched silently or intervened? Let me know, and keep watching to see if you'd survive what happens next. The police arrived within minutes, transforming the Crossroads Diner into a crime scene. Marie stood near the counter, hands still trembling as she gave her statement to a tired-looking detective who wrote everything in a small notebook. Expensive suit, dark hair, maybe 40. His hand never left his jacket, not once in 40 minutes. Marie's voice steadied as she focused on details. He paid cash for coffee he never drank, left the moment Robert moved. The detective nodded, unimpressed. We'll look into it. But Marie knew they wouldn't find anything. Robert appeared beside her as the detective walked away, his presence solid and commanding even in the chaos. He pulled her toward the back hallway, away from the remaining customers and crime scene tape. "How did you know?" His voice was low, urgent. "What made you see it?" Marie met his piercing blue eyes. "He wasn't here to eat. He was waiting. For you." Robert's jaw clenched. Someone knew his routine, knew exactly where he'd be, when he'd arrive, where he'd sit. A professional hit, planned with patience and precision. The police found nothing, no license plates, no fingerprints, no name attached to the cash payment. The hitman had vanished like smoke. "Let me put protection on you," Robert said as Marie grabbed her purse 2 hours later, ready to finish her shift and forget this nightmare ever happened. "It's over," Marie replied, more to convince herself than him. "He's gone. I'm fine." Robert studied her for a long moment, then handed her a card with his number scrawled on it. "If anything changes, anything, you call me." Marie nodded and walked to her car as the sun dipped below the horizon. The parking lot felt too dark, too empty. Every shadow seemed to move. Her phone buzzed. "Unknown number. You interfered. Now you're involved. We know where you live." Marie's hands shook so violently she nearly dropped the phone. Ice flooded her veins. Her breath came in short, panicked gasps. "This isn't over. So let me ask you this. Marie just became a target for saving someone's life. The people who sent that hitman now know her name, her face, and where she sleeps." If you think this story is intense now, smash that like button because it's about to get a lot worse. Trust me. She drove home, checking her rearview mirror every 5 seconds, heart hammering, paranoia spreading like poison through her thoughts. Every car behind her felt like a threat. Every turn felt like she was being followed. Marie burst into her apartment, locked the door, checked every window, pulled the curtains shut. Her fingers fumbled with her phone as she texted Robert's number. "They threatened me." His response came immediately. "Stay there, I'm coming. Lock everything." Marie waited in the dark, jumping at every creak, every distant sound, every shadow that moved across her window. 20 minutes later, a knock. She looked through the peephole. Robert stood there with 2 massive men in steel Vipers vests, one bald with scarred knuckles, the other built like a tank. Marie opened the door. Robert's face was stone. "Pack what you need. You're under club protection now." Marie's stomach dropped. Her old life, her routine, her safety, her invisibility, shattered in that moment. "How long?" she whispered. Robert's eyes held hers, honest and unforgiving. "Until the people who want me dead are no longer a threat." The Steel Vipers clubhouse looked like a fortress. Concrete walls, security cameras, rows of motorcycles gleaming under floodlights. Marie clutched her hastily packed duffel bag as Robert led her inside, past men covered in leather and ink who stopped their conversations to stare. "This is Marie," Robert announced to the room. "She saved my life. She's under club protection. Anyone touches her answers to me." A bald man with knuckles like hammered steel stepped forward. "Knuckles, VP." His handshake was firm but not aggressive. "You got balls, lady." Another man, massive, silent, dangerous, nodded from the corner. "Bone, Sergeant at Arms." Robert showed Marie to a small room upstairs. Clean, sparse. A bed, a dresser, a single window with bars. "Rules are simple," Robert said. "Don't leave without an escort. Don't talk to anyone outside the club. Trust nobody but us." Marie nodded, feeling the walls close in. This wasn't safety. It was a cage. Over the next few hours, Knuckles explained the club hierarchy, the code of brotherhood, why protection was sacred. "You're family now. That means something here." But Marie felt anything but family. She felt trapped, useless, invisible again, just in a different prison. That evening, she found Robert in the garage working on a bike. "Why does someone want you dead?" she asked quietly. Robert's hands stilled on the wrench. After a long silence, he spoke. 5 years ago, I witnessed a murder. Marcus Kane's brother executed a man in cold blood. I testified in federal court. Put him away. Robert's voice hardened. He died in prison. Gang fight. Marcus blames me. Marie's stomach dropped. This is revenge. Blood debt, Robert confirmed. Marcus won't stop until it's paid. You knew this could happen, Marie said, but you kept your routine. Same diner, same time, every week. Robert met her eyes, something like shame flickering across his face. I got lazy, comfortable. You saved me because I stopped watching my back. What happens now? We find out who Marcus hired, cut off his resources, end this before he sends someone else. Around them, steel vipers mobilized, phones ringing, contacts being called, intelligence gathering like a military operation. Marie watched, feeling powerless, protected, but paralyzed. That night, she found Robert again. Teach me to protect myself, she said, voice steady. I won't be a victim. Robert studied her, really looked at her, and saw something that made him nod slowly. All right. Tomorrow, we start. Here's where Marie stops being a victim and starts becoming something dangerous. If you want to see a waitress transform into a warrior, you better subscribe right now, because what she learns next is going to save her life, and possibly end someone else's. Later, Marie lay in the unfamiliar bed, listening to motorcycles rumble outside, voices carrying through the walls. Her old life, the diner, the routine, the invisibility, was gone. But as she stared at the ceiling, she realized something unexpected. Maybe that wasn't entirely bad. The gunshot cracked through the air, and Marie's hands shook as the bullet hit wide of the target. Breathe, Robert said beside her at the private range. Steady, again. She fired. Closer this time. Her fear was turning into focus. Over the next week, Marie transformed. Knuckles taught her to read a room, how eyes telegraph intent, how posture reveals weapons, how stillness can mean danger. You already got the instincts, he said. We're just sharpening them. Bone taught her to fight dirty, eye strikes, throat jabs, how to break a hold and run. You're not trying to win, he growled. You're trying to survive. Each day, Marie felt herself changing. The frightened waitress was fading, replaced by someone alert, capable, dangerous. One evening, she found Robert alone. Why did you testify? She asked. You must have known what it would cost. Robert was quiet for a long moment. Because staying silent would have cost more. I got a code, Marie, broken as it is. You respect that I warned you, Marie said softly. In the diner. Yeah. Robert's voice was honest. Took guts. Most people would have looked away. The moment hung between them, understanding, respect, the beginning of something like family. Then Knuckles burst in. Got something. The club gathered as Knuckles laid out his findings. Hitman was hired through an intermediary. Trail leads straight to Bloodhound's territory. Marcus Kane ordered it. The room erupted. Voices demanding war, retribution, blood for blood. Robert raised his hand. Silence fell. We go defensive. Protect Marie. Wait for Marcus to make his next move. Marie stood abruptly. You're letting them control the timeline. You're reacting, not acting. Every eye in the room turned to her. Robert's jaw tightened. What do you suggest? Marie's heart pounded, but her voice stayed steady. Use me as bait. Draw them out. But this time, you're ready. The room exploded with objections. Too dangerous. She's a civilian. Robert won't risk her. But Marie didn't back down. They'll come for me eventually. I'm a witness, a loose end. Better to face it on our terms than theirs. Robert stared at her, recognition dawning in his eyes. She wasn't wrong. She was tactical, strategic, brave. We do it my way, he said finally. Controlled, protected. You don't move without 6 steel vipers in position. Marie nodded, feeling something shift inside her. She wasn't the scared waitress anymore. She wasn't invisible. She wasn't a victim waiting to happen. She was part of the plan. And for the first time since that text message arrived, Marie didn't feel afraid. She felt ready. Now here's the thing about using yourself as bait. It only works if the predator takes it. And Marcus Kane, he's about to prove he's not just dangerous. He's lethal. If you think Marie's ready for what's coming, hit that notification bell because the next part is where everything explodes. The Steel Viper's war room buzzed with tactical planning. Maps of Thunder Ridge Rally covered the table. Rooftop positions marked, crowd flow analyzed, escape routes highlighted. 3,000 bikers, Knuckles said. Perfect cover for us. Perfect cover for them. Robert's finger traced the main thoroughfare. Marie and I walk the center path, visible, exposed. We're the bait. Bone pointed to surrounding buildings. Snipers here, here, and here. Spotters in the crowd every 20 feet. Backup teams in vans at all exits. Marie stood silent as they fitted her with a wire, thin as thread, hidden under her shirt, and a GPS tracker sewn into her jacket lining. Insurance, Robert said quietly. If things go sideways. The night before the rally, Marie couldn't sleep. She found herself outside the clubhouse, staring at the stars, trying to calm her racing heart. Robert's footsteps were soft behind her. You sure about this? Marie didn't turn around. I'm terrified. But I'm not hiding anymore. Robert moved beside her, his presence solid in the darkness. I've lost brothers. Good men. I won't lose you too. Marie finally looked at him, saw the fear behind the stone face, the weight of protection he carried. I'm family now, she said softly. Isn't I? Yeah. Robert's voice was rough with emotion. You are. Rally day exploded with noise. Thousands of motorcycles, leather-clad bikers, vendors hawking gear, music blasting from every corner. The air smelled like exhaust and freedom. Marie walked beside Robert through the chaos, her civilian clothes making her stand out against his Steel Viper's vest. Deliberate. Visible. A target. Around them, club members melted into the crowd. Bone near the beer tent, Knuckles by the main stage, others positioned like chess pieces across the rally grounds. Robert's earpiece crackled. Multiple bloodhounds spotted. 12 o'clock, 3 o'clock. Marie felt it then. Eyes on her back, predatory and patient. Her training kicked in. She didn't look directly, just scanned peripherally, reading body language, watching for threats. Robert's hand pressed against her lower back. Protective, reassuring. They stopped at a vendor booth. Robert bought her a leather bracelet, simple, black, a small steel viper charm dangling from it. So you remember, he said, fastening it around her wrist. Marie smiled, feeling the weight of belonging. Then Knuckles' voice cut through the earpiece, sharp with urgency. Rooftop! Sniper! Northeast corner! Marie's eyes snapped upward, scanning building edges, searching. There. A glint of metal. A scope catching sunlight. Robert! Roof! 2 o'clock! Time slowed to a crawl. Robert's body coiled. The world held its breath. And Marie knew. This was it. Pause right here. If you're not subscribed yet, you're about to miss the most intense shootout I've ever covered on this channel. Click that subscribe button now, because Marie just spotted a sniper, and what happens in the next 60 seconds will determine if she lives or dies. Robert's hand clamped around Marie's arm and yanked her down as the rifle shot cracked through the air. Chaos exploded. Bikers scattering, screams piercing the music, steel vipers mobilizing like a military unit. Robert's body covered hers, dragging her behind a vendor booth as wood splintered around them. "Stay down!" he shouted. Knuckles' voice barked through the earpiece. "Moving on, sniper! Northeast rooftop!" A second shot punched through the booth inches from Marie's head. Splinters sprayed across her face. Her ears rang. Her lungs burned. Robert drew his weapon and returned fire toward the rooftop. Controlled bursts, not to hit but to suppress, to buy his team time. Above them, steel vipers swarmed the building. Bone crashed through a rooftop access door, 2 members flanking. The sniper tried to run, got 3 steps before Bone tackled him like a freight train. Within seconds, the shooter was disarmed, zip-tied, and being dragged down the fire escape. Knuckles hauled him into a waiting van, door slamming shut. Marie shook violently, adrenaline crash hitting like a tidal wave. Robert pulled her upright, hands steady on her shoulders. "You did good," he said, voice cutting through her shock. "You spotted him. Saved us both." Marie nodded numbly, the bracelet on her wrist suddenly feeling heavier. Steel vipers regrouped around them, weapons drawn, formation tight. The rally had scattered. Police sirens wailed in the distance. Robert's phone rang. Unknown number. He answered. "You shouldn't have survived, Brown." Marcus Kane's voice was ice-cold fury. "Your shooter's in my custody," Robert replied, voice like gravel. "Your plan failed. Again." Silence. Then I'll finish it myself." The line went dead. Robert turned to Knuckles, face stone. "He's coming here now. Get everyone ready." Steel vipers moved instantly. Bikes repositioned into a defensive perimeter, weapons checked, backup called. A wall of leather and steel forming around Marie and Robert. "Get her out of here," Bone said. "No." Marie's voice cut through the tension. "I'm staying. I'm part of this." Robert met her eyes, saw the determination, the refusal to run. He nodded once. The rumble of engines grew louder, deep, aggressive, numerous. A dozen motorcycles appeared at the parking lot entrance, bloodhounds' patches gleaming in the afternoon sun. Marcus Kane led them. Both clubs faced each other across 50 feet of asphalt, guns drawn, bodies coiled, war hanging in the balance. Marcus dismounted slowly, his cold eyes locked on Robert. "Should have died in that diner, Brown." Marie's hand moved instinctively toward the concealed weapon Robert had given her. The world held its breath, and everything Marie had trained for came down to this moment. Marcus Kane is seconds away from starting a war that will leave bodies on the ground. If you think Marie's just going to stand there and watch it happen, you don't know her yet. Drop a like right now if you think she's about to do something insane. The standoff stretched like a razor wire. Steel vipers on one side, bloodhounds on the other, weapons drawn, fingers on triggers. Marcus's voice cut through the tension like a blade. "Your testimony killed my brother. You owe a blood debt." Robert's response was steel. "Your brother murdered an innocent man. I told the truth." "Truth doesn't bring him back," Marcus spat. "Your death will balance the scales." Marie felt Robert tense beside her, ready to respond, but she stepped forward first. "This isn't about justice," she shouted across the asphalt. "It's about ego. Your brother made choices. He paid for them. This stops now." Marcus laughed, bitter and cold. "The waitress has a voice. How touching." Marie didn't flinch. I saved Robert because killing him would have been murder, just like your brother committed. You're no different. The bloodhounds bristled. Steel vipers coiled tighter. The air crackled with violence about to break. Then Marcus raised his weapon, not at Marie, but at Robert while he was focused on her. Marie saw it first. Her training screamed through her veins. Time slowed. Her hand moved to the concealed pistol at her hip, the one Robert had given her, the one she'd practiced with for hours. She drew. She aimed. She fired. The shot echoed like thunder. Marcus stumbled backward, gun falling from his hand as blood bloomed across his shoulder. He hit the ground hard, disarmed, humiliated. Chaos erupted, both sides nearly exploding into gunfire, but Robert's voice cut through like a whip. Hold! Steel vipers froze. Bloodhounds hesitated. Robert walked forward slowly, his weapon trained on Marcus's head. The wounded man looked up, bleeding, defeated. I could end you right now, Robert said quietly, but I won't. Marcus spat blood. Why not? Because you came for me and failed. Came for the woman who saved me and failed again. Robert's voice was ice and gravel. Walk away now, or I bury you and every bloodhound who rides with you. Marcus struggled to his feet, humiliation burning in his eyes. Bloodhounds moved to help him. No one spoke, no one fired. They mounted their bikes in silence and rode away. Steel vipers held their defensive positions until the last engine faded into the distance. Sirens wailed closer. Police finally arriving. Robert turned to Marie. She was still holding the gun, hands shaking violently now, the weight of what she'd done crashing down on her. He gently took the weapon from her trembling fingers. You saved me, he said softly. Again. Marie collapsed into his arms, adrenaline finally draining away, leaving her hollow and shaking. Is it over? She whispered. Robert held her steady. Yeah, it's over. Marie just went from invisible waitress to the woman who stopped a biker war with one bullet. If that doesn't deserve a like, I don't know what does. Hit it now, and let's see how her life changes after this. The police interviews stretched for hours. Marie gave her statement 3 times, each detective wanting to hear how she'd shot Marcus Kane in self-defense. He aimed at Robert while distracted, Marie said steadily. I fired to protect him. The self-defense claim held. Video from rally cameras confirmed everything. Marcus was arrested for attempted murder, conspiracy, assault with a deadly weapon. Within days, the bloodhounds fractured. Members abandoning their disgraced president, the club weakened beyond repair. Marie returned to the Steel Vipers clubhouse in a daze. Everything felt surreal. The violence, the gunshots still ringing in her ears, the weight of what she'd done. She showered until the water ran cold, changed into clean clothes, and sat alone in her room, staring at her hands. The hands that had pulled a trigger, that had stopped a war. A knock. Knuckles leaned in the doorway. You did good out there. Saved the Prez. Saved all of us. Marie looked up. What happens now? Can I go back to my apartment, my job? Knuckles was quiet for a moment. Technically, yes. Threats neutralized. But your family now. Whether you wear the patch or not. That evening, a club meeting was called. Marie was invited, unprecedented for an outsider. Steel Vipers raised their beers. To Marie, the waitress who saved Grimm! The room erupted in cheers. Robert stood, raising his hand for silence. Marie Green stopped a bullet with 2 words, stopped a war with 1 shot. She's earned her place here. He lifted a leather vest from the table. Black, Steel Viper's colors emblazoned across the back, her name embroidered on the front. "Your family," Robert said, his voice thick with emotion. "You ride with us, if you want to." Marie stared at the vest, the symbol of everything she'd become, everything she'd survived. Images flashed through her mind: the invisible waitress, the whispered warning, the threatening text, the training, the rally, the shot that changed everything. She stood. She took the vest. She put it on. It fit perfectly. It felt right. The clubhouse exploded in cheers, brothers embracing her, welcoming her, claiming her as one of their own. Knuckles wheeled in a motorcycle, sleek, black, chrome, gleaming. "Can't be a Viper without a bike." Marie laughed through tears, overwhelmed and grateful and completely transformed. Robert pulled her aside privately. "You sure about this? This life isn't easy." Marie met his eyes without hesitation. "Neither is being invisible. At least now I matter." Robert nodded slowly. "You always mattered. You just finally see it." Later, Marie stood before the mirror in her room. Leather vest, steel Viper's patch, confident eyes staring back at her. She didn't recognize the woman in the reflection, but she liked her. From invisible waitress to steel Viper, from victim to warrior. If Marie's transformation inspired you, subscribe to this channel right now because I cover stories like this every single week. Real people, impossible choices, life-changing moments. 6 months later, Marie still worked at the Crossroads Diner, but everything was different. She walked through the door wearing her steel Viper's vest, black leather, colors bold across her back. Customers noticed. Some nodded with respect. Others looked away quickly, suddenly very interested in their menus. The owner had given her a flexible schedule without argument. You didn't argue with a steel Viper. Regulars treated her differently now. No longer the invisible waitress who refilled their coffee. Now she was someone with power, someone who mattered. Marie's life had transformed completely. The club helped her upgrade to a better apartment. Her confidence had grown. Her skills had sharpened. She'd become Robert's unofficial bodyguard, accompanying him on club business, watching his back the way he'd watched hers. Tuesday arrived, 1 p.m., Robert's old routine time. But now he didn't sit alone. Marie slid into the booth across from him. Equal, not servant. They ate together, talked strategy, joked about the day everything changed. Then a new customer entered. Expensive suit, polished watch. He sat in booth 7. Marie's instincts flared instantly. Her hand drifted toward her concealed weapon. Robert noticed the tension in her shoulders. "What do you see?" Marie watched carefully. The man ordered coffee, pulled out a laptop, started typing. Normal behavior, just a businessman. She relaxed. Robert smiled. "Once you see danger, you see it everywhere." "Better paranoid than dead," Marie replied. Robert's expression grew serious. "You ever regret it? Warning me that day?" Marie considered the question. The violence, the fear, the transformation, the family she'd gained. "No," she said finally, "because that day I stopped being invisible." "Good." Robert's voice was warm. "Because I don't forget. You saved my life. That debt's permanent." "It's not a debt," Marie said softly. "It's family." They clinked their coffee mugs together, a ritual between them now. Outside, steel Viper's motorcycles lined the parking lot, chrome gleaming in the afternoon sun. Her bike sat among them, black, powerful, hers. Marie looked out the window and caught her reflection in the glass. Leather vest, confident posture, sharp eyes that missed nothing. They say one moment can change everything. They're right. The moment I whispered, "Don't move," I stopped being Marie Green, invisible waitress. I became Marie Green, steel Viper, protector, fighter, family. Robert paid the check and left a generous tip for the other waitress. He and Marie walked out together. Equals, family, survivors. They mounted their bikes side by side. Engines roared to life in perfect harmony. They rode off together into the afternoon sun, free, dangerous, alive. Sometimes the quietest warning is the loudest act of courage, and sometimes courage doesn't roar. Sometimes it whispers, "Don't move." If this story proved that one moment of courage can change everything, do me a favor. Share this video with someone who needs to hear it. And if you haven't subscribed yet, what are you waiting for? Hit that button, turn on notifications, and I'll see you in the next story. Because around here, we don't just tell stories. We celebrate the people who refuse to stay invisible.